WP, you were once a very powerful demon king, but a holy thaumaturgist cursed you into nothing more powerful than a human peasant. Why do you have to breathe, all the time? Why do you have a soul now, and feelings? You knew something terrible was coming from the moment the ravens started to appear. One for sorrow, two for joy. They showed up on a cool, misty Thursday morning in April. Just a few at first, sitting high on your rooftop with their eyes glinting sharp and clear in the blue light of dawn. 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy. They weren't loud or obnoxious. They didn't try to steal any of your corn. They just were. 5 for silver, 6 for gold. On Friday, they sat on your fence and watched as you weeded your garden and planted the sage and rosemary cuttings you had rooted over the winter. 7 for a secret never to be told. On Saturday, they joined you on your walk through the forest, silent and observant as you placed offerings to the spirits and guardians of the earth, the stone, the wood, and the water. 8 for a wish, 9 for a kiss. On Sunday, they followed you to the market, cawing in delight as the local children tossed them crusts of bread and handfuls of roasted lentils. 10, a surprise you don't want to miss. On Monday, they followed you to Mrs. Hoffram's cottage, half a league down the main road to the south, where they perched outside of her window while you gave Mrs. Hoffram the special tea you had brewed for her joint pain. 11 for health, 12 for wealth. On Tuesday, dawn painted the world red and orange as a storm-darkened sun crept up from the horizon. You could feel the pressure in the air, the static charge of the atmosphere. You bathed and dressed and listened to the ravens fluff their wings and talk quietly amongst themselves. 13, beware. It's the devil himself. The moment Caliph sets foot on your land, your wards crackle to life, and you feel a gentle tug on your magic as they activate the protective sigils you have placed by your front gate. Outside, you hear a man curse loudly. You open your front door and cross your arms over your chest, leaning against the door frame with a smile. Good morning, Your Highness. Cal glances up from the strangling vines that are wrapped securely around his shoes and grins. Good morning, Addie. Mind calling off your wards? That depends, you reply, raising your eyebrows, on whether or not you are willing to explain to me why I have 13 ravens sitting on my roof right now. Cal blinks at you, glances up at your rooftop, and then gives you a sheepish little laugh. Haven't the slightest idea, my dear. Nothing at all to do with me, I assure. Ouch. He glares up at the tiny, angry ball of yellow light that just zipped out of the ground and smacked him in the middle of his forehead. You should know better than to lie to a witch in her own domain, Cal, you say in a mild voice, waving your hand to dismiss the spell. Try again. Cal frowns, opens his mouth, closes it, and then he sighs. I need a favor. Of course you do, you mutter. With another wave of your hand, the vines disappear from Cal's feet. Come on, then. I can't, not yet. You frown, why not? The prince glances over his shoulder. All right, come on out. Ah, but remember, move asterisk slowly, just like I showed you. You shift your gaze to the line of trees on the opposite side of the dusty road, and you watch as a very large, inhumanly handsome man steps out of the shadows. His dark hair is long, tied back at the nape of his neck. He moves with an awkward grace that makes you think he's used to walking differently, but you're not quite sure what that means. And then he lifts his head, and his eyes glint red as blood in the sunlight. The power you feel within him is almost incomprehensible, and it hits you like a gust of wind, roaring through your mind and stealing the breath from your lungs. You move before you think. A series of defensive wards explode in the air around you and Cal, and the ravens, of course, and you start towards the stranger with your hands raised and ready to cast. Wait, Cal yelps. Wait, don't kill him. When you speak, your voice is shadowed by the strength of your magic. You have brought a demon into my forest, Prince of Man, you snarl. Cal doesn't flinch at the inhuman chorus of voices that speak through you, but he does take a step forward, placing himself between you and the demon. Stupid idea. You have half a mind to just banish both of them. Let the kingdom fret for a few weeks while Cal enjoys a lengthy stay in the lower domains. He's not a demon, Addie, Cal says hurriedly. Not anymore, not really. You scowl at the prince. Explain. Cal glances over his shoulder and slowly steps aside. Addie, this is Abraxos. Brax, this is Adelphi, the savior of Lighthold. You drop your hands and stumble back a step, shaking your head, unable to control the horrified expression on your face. Tell me that is not the Demon King, Caliph, you say in a shaking voice. Well, I would, Cal muses, but then you'd hit me in the head with a glowing green ball of light again. You curse under your breath. Why is he * here? Because I need your help. The Demon King speaks with a soft, deep voice that seems to rumble through the ground and vibrate through the air, raising the hairs on the back of your neck. You stare at him for a long moment, and then you turn back to Cal. Explain. 5 minutes and a asterisk lot asterisk of carefully diffused magical words later. You are sitting in your kitchen across from the Prince of Lighthold and the King of Hell, staring at them both with an expression of deliberate and utter blankness, the kind of expression you haven't had to use since the war. When Brax showed up to help protect the realm gates, Orlin activated the spell that would have transferred all of Brax's power to Orlin. Fortunately, I arrived in time to interrupt the spell, but not before Brax's magic had been almost completely sealed off from him. Your attention has not once left Abraxos. And Orland, the Demon King lifts his eyes from the table and meets your gaze. Dead. Cal winces. Brax was upset, it's understandable. You raise one slender eyebrow. So the Demon King's first act as a human was to spill the blood of a high priest. Do I have that right? Abraxos doesn't flinch at your tone. Caliph, however, flinches enough for the both of them. Technically, his first act as a human was to save the world and seal the realm gates to prevent an invasion from one of the lesser domains. Then he killed the high priest who had tried to steal his power and tear a hole in reality. The Holy Archon knew the price he stood to pay if he failed, Abraxos says calmly. Did you wonder? A muscle in the Demon King's jaw flexes as he grits his teeth. No, he says slowly, but it is my responsibility to protect my domain and the realm gates no matter the cost. How noble of you, you say in a dry voice. The demon's large hands curl into fists on the table. Caliph clears his throat. Look, Addie, I know this puts you in a difficult position, he says quietly. But I swear to you, Brax had nothing asterisk to do with the witch hunts that occurred before the war. Was it your father then? You ask in a cold voice. Was he the one who hunted my kind for sport when I was a child? Abraxos stares at you for a long moment. It was my brother, he says quietly. I killed him. The silence that falls over the room is broken only by the faint caw of a raven somewhere above your head. How long will this curse last? You ask, finally turning your attention to Cal. The prince gives you a small, hopeful smile that makes your heart plummet. I was hoping you might be able to answer that, he says sheepishly. You sit back in your chair. Let me get this straight, you say in a flat voice. You want the King of Hell, the ruler of a domain filled with the very demons who once wore my sister's ears as necklaces, asterisk to stay in my home with me while I help him recover his stolen magic. Cal shrugs helplessly. Yes. Get out. Addie, wait. Please, Abraxos says, his voice low and soft and curling across your skin like smoke. I will give you anything you ask. You stare at him for a long time. You want to kill him so badly it asterisk hurts. And yet, there's something about him, about the intensity of his gaze and the hesitance of his movements, and the depth and strength of his voice that makes you feel warm the way the sunlight feels in midwinter, when the wind fades and the bright, bitter sky is perfectly still. Warm the way the fire feels when it crackles and pops in your hearth on cool, rainy nights in the spring. Warm the way your sister's magic used to feel when they wove it alongside yours in the forest, back when you were children. Fine. Caliph visibly sags with relief, while Abraxos simply returns your nod with one of his own. Later, after Cal has left, you lead the Demon King to your living room and sit him down on the armchair by the fire. You need to blink more, you say sternly. He frowns. Can it wait? I'm having a hard enough time remembering to breathe. You send a silent prayer to whatever spirits and guardians might see fit to grant you patience. And then you sigh and get to work.